to the ABC Podcast.
Always be cool.
The show where your hosts, DC and BK, showcase your local business and real estate pros going gangbusters in leadership, community involvement, and just being cool.
Here are your hosts, serial entrepreneurs, mortgage experts at Summit Lending, and partners in crime, Darren Copeland and Bobby Kerr.
All right, everybody, it's the ABC Podcast. Always be cool, hanging out with your hosts, Bobby Kerr, Darren Copeland.
What's up, everybody?
We've got a really, really special guest today, a good, close, personal friend of ours, somebody we've known for a long time through Royals Fantasy Camp, through real estate, all things awesome, Mr. Michael Maher. Take it away, DC.
All right, here we go. So from Gardner, Kansas, CEO of ReferCo, the world's foremost authority in business referrals. In just his third year of real estate, he did 187 transactions for over $40 million, all from referrals netting over $1 million in earnings. For the next 8 years, he received over 500 referrals every single year. He is the author of the #1 best-selling book in real estate sales, 7 Levels of Communication. In addition, he's a national trainer and speaker. He has shared the stage with the likes of George W. Bush, Tony Robbins, John Maxwell. He is married to wife Sheri. They have an amazing son named Max. He is a great guy, man of many talents. Michael Maher, welcome to the show, brother. How you doing, man?
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. It's an honor and a privilege to be on. And I'm surprised that you ran out of great guests so quickly with all the people that you know, that it finally came down to we'll have Michael Maher on with Willie Wilson and George Brett and all these guys. So I'm just happy that I know you well.
To be fair, Michael, those didn't have secretaries and people that we had to go through for scheduling time.
Also true,
right?
Yeah, it's all a facade, right? It's all a facade. You can hire that person for $7 an hour, and they act really, really important, and they act like you're really, really important. Right. So
that's great. Actually, you were number 1 on the list. We just accidentally skipped over you to get to George Brett and Willie Wilson and Dennis Leonard and all.
I can't wait to tell George and Willie that when we get down to fantasy camp. So thank you for that. This is recorded, right? Yes, I'm going to have that on repeat. I don't need to do affirmations in the morning. I just need you to say that over and over and over again.
You were chosen before them. That's right. That's your daily affirmation.
All day long. Well, and you know what? All these millions of copies of books that you sold, Michael, and for the casual person that might have been to, some of your speaking engagements, conventions, things like that. But I don't think people really realize, to talk and stay on the athlete part, but I don't think people realize what a good athlete you are. And that's how, we really became, buddies of going to Royals Fantasy Camp, man. So are you getting your arm in shape, man, in a couple months? Are you ready to go?
I just got back from Cooperstown. I played in the Hall of Fame tournament up there. 10 games in 5 days, people.
Wow.
I will tell you, though, by day 4, the right leg was pretty sore, and I wasn't moving too great. But I will tell you, there were glimpses of the old Michael Maher, the old Mayo, during that tournament. So I went 5 for 7 with 4 walks in the bracket games in front of the Home Run Derby winner. So my job was to get on, and I was thinking right field, right center the whole time, and hit really well and got on in front of him, and we ended up winning the whole thing.
That's awesome. Yeah, we saw. Awesome. Did you play with Hey Big?
Yeah, he was the one that called me. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
and I wasn't first on his list either. So that's another conversation. He went through Shane Tucker and Joe and a couple others on our team, and I actually had to invite myself. Hey, what's this Cooperstown tournament thing you're doing? Right? And he's like, oh well, we might need another arm and another pair of legs. So I think you'll come. Then I ended up hitting second, and playing third every game. So
that's
it was
awesome.
Woo.
That's awesome.
I know we're looking forward to camp and getting down there and seeing what kind of stick you're swinging, because obviously you're one of the better hitters
for sure.
That's there for sure.
Exactly. So let's kind of
and you two are the other two. So basically, we've got it covered as far as hitters at fantasy camp.
We need to just talk to Dina, put us all on the same team for once. So, all right, Michael. So a lot of you, people have seen you on stage. They've seen your picture all over the book. Just a massive success with 7 levels of communication. So, man, let's take a step back And let's go back to some humble beginnings. You started as a math teacher, and just kind of tell the people that are listening to this, because again, we always want to share, light and, positive on the show here on ABC, always be cool. But how did you get your start, as a math teacher, and at what point were you like, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to get my real estate license.
So that's a great story. I mean, talk about humble beginnings. Gardner, Kansas. My dad was a teacher, which I think is part of the story, right? And he taught basketball, football, and taught track in the spring. We didn't have baseball at my school, which is interesting, right? Okay. And he made $2,500 a year, and he drove the school bus for $50 a quarter for extra money. And my mom stayed home with 5 kids. We were like dirt poor, right? Like literally. And then went through school. And then in football, my junior year, I broke 22 of our school records for passing and total yardage. And then my senior year, we got a new coach, and I was sat promptly on the bench. I was actually a backup to start, and because they went to the wishbone, and we had run basically the early form of spread my junior year, and I threw it all over the place. Well, I went home and told my dad I quit the second week of football practice, and he said, okay, but I want you to think about this question. How bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? And so I thought about it that weekend, and I decided that I wanted it really bad. I came back to practice, and I worked my butt off. The long story short is I found there's a different gear in me than I thought I had. I thought I was going 100%, and I was really going like 80%. And I found that there is this 100%. So this, how bad do you want it? And tapping into that next level of achievement, next level of productivity, next level of attitude, next level of effort, has served me well my entire life. So I went to college, and interestingly enough, I tried out for the KU baseball team. They said, where do you play? And I said, I'll play everywhere. That's how bad do you want it? Right? It's like you start thinking about it. Your answers change when it's how bad do you want it? And so it was like, I'd never played catcher before in my life. And I caught in that game, and I threw 3 guys out at second base. And I hit pretty well, right? I've always been able to hit. And the Hutchinson baseball coach called Brad Hill played under Dave Bingham, who was the coach at KU. And he gave me a full ride scholarship to Hutchinson Community College. So I played baseball at Hutch, even though my high school didn't even have baseball. So there's a story there, right? School didn't even have baseball, and you can play college baseball. Well, it ended up Hutch, and then I went to Johnson County Community College, played there, and then I was at KU and on the team there. And then my dad was finishing out with cancer. He ended up dying actually 30 years ago, almost to today.
Oh, wow.
And so when I went back to school, it was really a push for me to teach and coach like my dad did, right? And so I went back, got my math degree, got my education degree. And during that, I coached football, when I was student teaching and going through that. I basically coached, and then I coached football, basketball, and baseball or softball at Bonner Springs for 4 years. And it was my first 2 years in the summers, I did curriculum development. I actually wrote the courses and the books for my own classes because they hadn't been invented yet, so to speak, for those two classes.
Would the district compensate you to do that, or the state?
It was the state, right? So I actually, got a grant that paid me to work on that during the summer, which is a long story. We literally, by the 4th year of teaching, I had other teachers from other districts and around the country who came in and watched me teach, which was really cool. And it was because of the curriculum development.
Nice.
The 3rd and 4th summers, the grant ran out. So I didn't have a grant. So I was looking for something to do. And I also bought my first home. And the on-site agents at where we bought our home said, you'd be great in real estate. And I was looking for a summer job. So I got my real estate license in July of 99. And and at that point, I did a little bit and kind of here and there. And then the fourth summer, the very first client I ever had was Davey and Vanessa Davis. Davey played on my softball team on Thursday night, so back to baseball and softball sports, right?
Right.
And he worked with me just because of team camaraderie. He didn't want to see me every week being all pissed off because I wasn't his agent, right? So I got my first client by default versus design. And I threw a house ring party for Davey because you know what we did when we played softball is we played softball and we drank a lot of beer, right? So it was another excuse to have a party. So we did a house ring party for Davey and Vanessa. I got 11 referrals at that very first party.
Wow.
11, right? So I'm working these 11 and then school starts again. So during my planning period, right after school, as I'm going from school to football practice or school to basketball practice, I'm on the phone trying to serve clients. And it just got so busy and so big. And by the way, the very first summer, I made more in real estate than I did in the entire 9 months of coaching, teaching, and doing everything I did there. And I also discovered that there was a lot of intrinsic value, not just the money and the extrinsic reward. There was a lot of intrinsic reward to real estate as well because people weren't being educated all that well on buying a home or selling their home. And so that was I educated people on making great real estate investments and how to increase their value of their home to get more money. And I found there was a lot of intrinsic reward to go with the extrinsic reward, and it set me on fire.
Yeah, because how long did it really take you, Michael, after that summer of making that money, doing the real estate? How long did it take your mind to flip to be like, I might do this full time?
Immediately.
So it wasn't quite that fast, right? Because I'm not very money motivated, right? So I'm more like help people motivated. If the best thing for me is when I add value to somebody's life, right? But what was interesting, long story short is I went for a head coaching football job and didn't get it. When I didn't get it, there were some underlying reasons I didn't get it that I had no control over. And that was the nail in the coffin for education for me, was that somebody else can prevent you from achieving your dreams in the educational world.
It's very political. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, very.
For sure. So keep going.
That was it. And honestly, it's like at the time I was crushed that I didn't get this head coaching position. In the long run, and one of the reasons I believe that we should appreciate everything, right, is because we need to appreciate the bad moments too. Because without them, we wouldn't be who we are, and we wouldn't have gone down this other path that's better. And I went down a path that was better because of this crushing defeat at the time.
So let's back up a little bit. You kind of glossed over this other gear, right? Let's call it seventh gear, right? So
Oh, I see what you did.
Yeah.
You seven levels. See what I did there?
Yeah.
So you go into
really
your.
good.
Has anybody ever done that before? So you go to your seventh gear, right? And you're tapping into something that's pretty special. So doesn't matter if it's real estate. This adversity of being named, not the starter, right? Made you focus to say, screw that. I want this really, really bad. I'm going to win this job. Because you did win the job, correct?
Not only did I win the job, but it ended up that when we were in the regional finals, we were in a mud game with Baldwin, who we hadn't beaten in like 5 years. And we were down 13-12 with in the second half. And it ended up that long story short, we went to the previous year's offense. And I called the plays. I literally told every receiver what to do. And I threw a touchdown pass to a running back running a post from the backfield for a touchdown to win it with less than a minute left. And that was the first time we had won the region, for years and years and years.
So not the wishbone system that was installed prior to the season.
Well, the wishbone did all right, but I'm telling you, it was the wishbone was dying at the time, right? And but if you think about it, if we had done wishbone and spread all year, how hard would we have been to?
Oh my gosh!
But the coach was new; it was his first head coaching job, so I give a lot of grace and forgiveness there, and it is what it is.
So,
right? And we had a great running back who you guys know, David Curry. So
yeah,
yeah. So you get the adversity, you win the job, you tap into the seventh gear. Let's stay there for a second. How does a person who, not necessarily even entrepreneurs, how can a person start to tap into something to really uncover the unthinkable or the things that they never thought that they could accomplish? Let's talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah, that's a tough one, right? I mean, as soon as we untap this, we need to write a book and put it out there.
Let's go.
The seventh gear. I think we've got a new title and everything.
We can talk about that in November.
Forward, yeah.
We can talk about that in November.
So I think the big thing is it's how bad do you want it? Like I think that the hardest thing in the world isn't to break away from poverty or like really tough circumstances, like an Oprah, right? Really tough circumstances. I think the hardest thing in the world is to break average, because the world wants to encourage average. When you're an outlier, there's going to be all these people who want to take a hammer and nail you down because you're the right. What do they say? Don't be the nail that stands out, right? Because you'll be the one that's hammered. Yeah. And I'm going to tell everybody right now, be the nail that sticks out.
Yeah,
right?
We would agree.
Don't worry about that.
Well, and absolutely. And we talk about, clarity is also power. So when you're put in a position like you were in your football career, that you got absolutely clear over that weekend after you answered your dad's question, that clarity, I think, also has a lot to do with getting that seventh gear engaged, right? Because a lot of people who are not clear, that, we talk to people all the time, it seems like it just kind of holds them back a little bit. But that epiphany that they have that once, hey, we've got this clarity, now it's just like, again, all these forces are starting to go for you in the same direction.
I think the other thing, too, is understanding scarcity. I think clarity is power. I think scarcity is power. Scarcity is the fact that you don't have enough time and energy and money to do everything. So what I do really, really, really well, or I don't do it, right? Bowling, everybody here is going to beat me in bowling. Miniature golf, everybody's here going to beat me in miniature golf. My son can beat me in miniature golf, right? So it's one of those where, a newbie who never knew, and I played golf before, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to master it. So I have to understand I'm going to give up a lot of this other stuff to master this one thing, right? So it's a narrowing of focus that clarity sets about, right? It's scarcity is, you know what? I'm not going to be able to binge watch House of Dragons, during the day. It's going to have to be like 11 p.m. to midnight or something like that. But during the day, it's like right now, our big focus is our annual conference, Referral Mastery Summit down in, Orlando, Florida. So it's like, it's a prioritization that's got to be called upon too. Absolutely. You can't be great at everything. You can't.
Yeah.
But you can be great at everything you do, which is awesome.
That's a good caveat. So I've heard you say before that it's easier to be excellent than it is to be mediocre. And I think that's right mediocre, in line with what we're talking about.
Right. Be a lighthouse of excellence in a sea of mediocrity. It's really easy to be mediocre, right? But it's easier to be excellent. And what I mean by that is when you're mediocre, you're always trying to pay your bills. You're always trying to be a relationship with someone. You're always like
everything's a challenge.
It's tough. Everything's hard, right? When you are excellent, when you go to that level of knowledge and skill and mastery where you are excellent, things come easy for you. People say yes to you a lot. People want to have relationships with you. It's super attractive to be excellent. Being mediocre makes you just like everybody else. You got to be willing to, no longer fit in. It's now about standing out. And it's okay to stand out, because what you discover when you get above the clouds from standing out is there's a bunch of other people who love people who are outstanding. And what we hear is, oh my God, we're going to leave these people behind, right? But it's like, maybe you should. Maybe you can. Maybe you will. And maybe it's okay. And here's what I've discovered. Some of those people that you thought you were leaving behind will rise their level as well. And some of those people I mean, the thing is you can communicate with them anytime you want. So I think it's like the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, right? Remember the island of misfit toys?
Mm-hmm.
And then they discover that their misfits are actually advantages. Mm-hmm. It's just like that, right? Be a misfit and encourage your misfit. If you have a red nose, you're going to end up the freaking leader. And you're so worried about your red nose, right? I'm different. I'm weird. And it's like, you're damn right I'm weird. Let's go.
Did you say this on purpose? Because I caught it. I don't know if you caught it, but I've never heard it put like this. Standing out and then equating that into being outstanding.
Yeah.
That's pretty powerful.
It is powerful. Well, and the thing is that kind of leads into, we talk about this every single show. We talk about elevator people, hanging out with elevator people versus hanging out with basement people. And what you just described, Michael, is, setting yourself apart, being that nail that's out there that wants to get nailed down because you're sticking out. But that's what we say in all our different businesses is hang out with those other elevator people, because when you start separating yourself, those people are going to want to hang out with you. So they're either going to lift you up or they're naturally just going to kind of go away in your life because they're basement people. And there's just a time and season that those people just aren't going to be in your life anymore.
It's the weightlifter effect, right? You guys know I'm big into weightlifting, right? Mm-hmm. It's the weightlifter effect. In life, there are people who are either weights or they are lifters. And the weights can weight. They weight you down. They draw you down. They bring you down. And they're there to crush you. They're there to crush your dreams. They're there to, and they don't even know maybe that they're being that way. They're just negative. They're so into you being mediocre that anything else threatens their entire existence, right? And they're the first ones to shoot the arrows, right? And if you're going to take arrows, take them in the back, baby. But here's the thing, is the other side are lifters. Like you guys are lifters, right? I hope that I'm a lifter. And a lifter helps lift you to that next level, to a higher life, to pushes you even, pulls you in some cases to the next level. Mm-hmm. And with lifters, make them lifers. And with weights, make them weight. And that's it. It's the weightlifter effect.
The weight. Well, say it again.
Well, with the lifters, make them lifers. And with the weights, they can wait. Just make them wait. And sometimes the wait means that it's never, and it's okay, right? We need less weights in our life, and we need more lifters in our life.
Hell yeah,
and
I love that. Well,
that's just the truth.
In fact, we're huge on acronyms around here, Michael, and I think we might have another.
No way.
You like acronyms too?
We might have another poster going up in the office just for that. That was awesome.
You've got a few acronyms in 7L, don't you?
I did it selfishly to start with, right? It made it easier for me to remember. Yeah. And then what I discovered is by doing that, it makes it really easy for other people to remember.
Well, that's actually a really easy transition. So talk to us a little bit about what was that point, or what inspired you as you were getting into your real estate career? What inspired you to write that book that's just been a massive success for you?
Oh, wow. Well,
and we only have.
Do you guys know this story? I mean, you may. It is in the introduction of the book, but it's.
Well, tell it real quick. We've got about 3 or 4 hours to fill here, so go ahead.
Yeah.
Did you see
and I noticed that you blocked. 3 to 4 hours for me, right? I get it. But so what happened is I was interviewed by a guy named Howard Brinton, kind of like this. And he had a list of 100,000 agents. We had gone from 37, 80, I'd gone from 37 to 87 to 187 transactions in my first 3 years. 187 transactions, 3 years, all by myself. And my wife supported and helped me a lot. And it was all through referral. So all these 100,000 agents were like, how the heck did you do that? So they would bombard me with emails and phone calls about what, and I would send them like the strategy, housewarming parties, or the networking stack, or home court advantage, or the 7 steps to a power note. And I would send it to them, but I was giving them an answer, but not the answer to how we were really getting over 500 referrals a year. So I needed to write a book. I was like, I need to write a book. And like a lot of people who need to write a book, I didn't write a book. I didn't write a book for 2 years. And then I had knee surgery from all the baseball and softball games I'd played through my life.
Right.
And I had knee surgery on Friday, December 13th. How about that for Friday the 13th? And then the next Monday, I was feeling like really weird. I was feeling out of breath. The doctor said, go home, take it easy, ice your leg, and take care of yourself. And obviously, I'm not very good at like just sitting around because I was getting out of breath, literally just walking across the room. And I got a real bad pain in my side. So I asked my wife, like, how much would it cost to go to ER, right? I mean, it's like, and she said something really smart. She said, I think it's like $100, right? If it would have been $350
she said, I'm not
or
going.
more, I think it was like, don't worry about it. So we went, I took a shower and then we went, right?
Because you can't go there dirty. Right.
That's right. So I went and that night they were all over me. When they heard my symptoms, they were checking everything. They did x-rays and they were doing everything. But they couldn't figure out what it was. On December 18th, 2007, I woke up in the morning. A nurse was like doing like a sonogram on the inside of my thigh. I wasn't even awake yet, right? I mean, it was like, that's how I woke up, was this young nurse having moist stuff around my inner thigh, right? I mean, that's how I woke up. Like, I thought this was the greatest hotel ever.
Right.
And just so you know, I immediately started thinking about baseball. I'm just telling you. Right. Like, you got to realize I was literally startled awake. I'm just by a moist substance. Baseball. Okay, so you get where, yeah. So I'm thinking low outside, drive it to right center. Low outside, drive it to right center. Low outside, drive it to right center. Please, dear God, do not go there. Right. And so eventually the bat went down, right? But right after, like that kind of was thinking, well, then I had this cold feeling just sweep over my body, and it felt really, really weird. Just like, it was just like the blood was rushing out of my body. Mm-hmm. And I go, ma'am, I don't feel very well. And she goes, it's only going to take me like 30 seconds to do this. I'm almost done. And about 10 seconds later, like I just felt the weirdest feeling in the world. Just like I felt very heavy, like super, like I was being embedded into the bed. And, and I go, ma'am, I don't feel good. Just like that. And that made her look up, and she saw me, and then I heard my heart flatline. I literally heard the monitor go beep. Oh my God. And then I don't remember anything for a little bit. And then the next thing I remember is a large woman was on top of me, and I thought this was heaven, right? No, it wasn't heaven. It was actually by the way, when I said I don't feel well and I heard the flatline, she ran out. I'm dead. I'm like, I'm dead. Like, I'm dead. I'm dying. Like, there was that awareness of I'm dead. Right. And then I came to, and the head nurse had revived me, and I had actually flatlined for 37 seconds.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
And when I came to, I was not thinking about real estate or referrals or business or clients or any of that. The first thing I thought is, I don't have a kid. And I had never wanted kids before. So at that moment, it was like, I want a kid, like legacy or something kicked in. And then also, like, when I'm being wheeled down for them to put in a temporary pacemaker in surgery, I just thought, oh my God, this entire referral mastery system, the system that I have, almost died with me. And that night in intensive care in Olathe Medical Center, of all places, I outlined what became the 7 levels of communication. And then I just literally wrote some of it there and then wrote it over the next 18 months.
Wow. Well, I think one of the lessons in there, number one, I'm glad you're okay. Number two, I think a lot of us have to have these moments of whether it's a near-death experience or trauma, some type of trauma to really push us to say, I am ready to accomplish great feats.
Right.
And for you to just wake up and say, number one, I'm ready to outline this book that becomes a bestseller. I'm ready to start, a family with Max. We're talking about Max. And
that's right. So February, we went on a cruise. This was December. I was well enough in February to go on a cruise. We went on a Valentine's cruise. Okay. And so 9 months later, Max was born. We were going to call him Souvenir, right? But Max felt more appropriate.
I was going to say, is his birthday around the November 1st of December area?
October 25th.
Right. Okay,
it was supposed to be November 12th. He was a little bit of a premature baby, but
right.
But yeah, and what I said in the book in the introduction is exactly what Bobby's saying is don't wait for a life-changing event to change your life. Right. So, and I heed that. I'm always looking to change my life on a daily basis in some small way,
Well, and I think certain people, hit points in life where whether it's a certain low, whether it's health or economically or spiritually or whatever, but a lot of times that is like the aha moment of like, wow, there's some things that I want to accomplish, having a kid, giving back to others, and it really propels, because one of the quotes that I love in your book, Michael, and we've had some, dealings in the past, and, we were at one of your events here in Kansas City a few years ago, but I love the quote that you put in there, and I think this is kind of the basis of a lot of what you do, is you say that we're not number one, that you are, right? We're not number one, that you are. So you, right up front, you are crystal clear that, hey, it's not all about Michael Maher. It's just before we started the show, it's like, what value can I help you guys with? So I think that servant mentality that you have is just, number one, is really, really refreshing, because you don't see that very much in today's age. But how did you come up with that back in the day as that kind of mantra that you go with?
Yeah, I love that. So it actually came from my brother and myself having a brotherly exchange on email. So
you guys were telling each other that you loved each other. That was the brotherly exchange.
As only brothers can, right? So, yeah. So it was one of those where, I have collected a series of awesome lawyer jokes and attorney jokes over the years simply because he's an attorney, right? So I was just I was giving him a hard time about, and I said some joke in there about, what's 1,000 attorneys at the bottom of the ocean, right? And, it's a good start. And it's one of those where, and he came back with, well, I see that you're a number one agent, and I think last thing I checked, there were 6,580 number one agents in Kansas City. And I emailed back. I go, no, we're not number one. You are. And so that response led to, that really is us, right? So we're not number one. You are. And we put a smiley face in the middle of the U, right? And it was all caps. I had to have it trademarked because so many realtors around the country were kind of taking that and running with it. But it's like that says and other thing too that I wrote about, there were all these agents singing about being number one in the marketplace and things like that. And the ego era was big and bad, all the way up through 2008. And then humility and reality set in for a lot of people.
Right.
But it's one of those where we and what I think I've seen is I saw this consumer transition from, they were tired of the number one and the biggest and the baddest and the top talk. They couldn't trust it anymore because everybody was number one at something. The J.D. Power Awards, everybody had them. Everybody has them. Who doesn't have them?
Right. Exactly. Well, when I started my career, Michael, I was the number one lender 19 years ago, and then in small parentheses, I put per my mom.
Yeah, which I love, right? Or lab approved, and you have a dog that's a lab, right? Oh my gosh! And it's one of those where I think the thing that we really saw early was that we were transitioning. The consumer was transitioning from the ego era to the generosity generation, right? And the ego era was, we're number one, we're the best, I am number one. And the generosity generation, the motto and the slogan has changed. It's, I am here to help. right? I am here to help. We are here to help. And you'll notice car ads who don't even show cars. They're talking about when you buy a car, they donate to something. You know, buy one shoes and we're going to donate a pair of shoes, Tom's shoes, right? And it's one of those where we're fully in the generosity generation in a big way. And the old ABC was, you know, A, always, B, closing, right? C, closing. And the new ABC is always be connecting and always be cool.
Right.
Like
That's
that.
absolutely
right.
Was there?
Thank you for the
plug.
Thank you for the plug.
That's right.
So along those same lines, was there some? Because we've got so many good nuggets that we want to talk about before we end this today. But your standpoint on handwritten notes is such a big part of what it is that you teach and that you share. Was there someone along the way that shared this with you, or the idea of you, or a note you received that really made it click for you to say, this is earth-shattering, something so simple is earth-shattering when done effectively? Was there somebody that kind of helped you see that light?
I think the answer is yes. I learned from a lot of people, right? Bob Berg and Joe Stump and lots of people that Vamela Rogers, who wrote Your Handwriting Can Change Your Life, right? Which is a book that you don't need to read if you just implement the 7 steps to a power note. I mean, the whole book boiled down to what I put in in this one thing. But it's one of those where it goes back to the 7th gear that we were talking about before. Is I didn't want to just write handwritten notes. I wanted to write the best handwritten notes that have ever been written on the planet. What would that look like? Right? So taking everything, if you're going to do an ad, do the best ad on the planet. You know, if you're going to, you know, do have a phone call, what is the best thing you could do? If you're going to do an event, do the best event on the planet that you can. And I think it was just like researching, how do I make my notes better, and never ending that search, right? And we, you know what? We're making our power notes even more powerful today, you know? So we've improved it even from, you know, when the book was written. So, you know, and the cool thing about a handwritten note is it's such a differentiator. It's the most powerful marketing piece that leaves a person's office, no matter what.
Agreed.
I mean, could you imagine if you got a handwritten note from your trash company? Could you imagine if you got a handwritten note from Amazon after you bought something? Could you imagine if you got a handwritten note? I mean, it's still untapped in my estimation as to how powerful it is.
Well, I think it kind of speaks to maybe just the culture of today, whether it's brevity or just the ease of being able to fire off a text or an email. And so this is, I mean, it is an art form.
Oh, absolutely.
And now you know, writing notes is an art form. And so, you know, when you get it and when you do it, it's so impactful. And so I want to stay there for a second. So can you talk a little bit about the art of this handwritten note and things like the Post-it note inside, the blue ink? Talk about some of these things that most people are like, why the hell would I do something like that?
Great question.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, you do it to stand out versus fit in. Right. So that's the first thing. The second thing, all right, so the 7 steps to a power note is use unbranded colored envelopes, right? And use unbranded cards. So it's like, oh my gosh, you mean this logo I just paid $5,000 for, you don't want me to put, no, I don't want you to put it on there. Are there places for the branded cards? 100%. But remember, our job is to go from professional to personal with all of our relationships if I can, because people refer personal, they don't refer companies. So that's the first
thing. Is that
to
eliminate tension is basically what you're saying?
Yeah.
To make it
more, to make it friendly.
Yeah, not make it sales.
Yeah, and also, I mean, there's nothing more branded than a friend, right? I mean, it's like that triggers your heart versus just here's what, it's more important to be top of heart than it is top of mind. And that's the bottom line, right? We need to be both, but it's more important, how am I being top of heart with my clients today? And that's like, whoa, like that's a difference maker with our team and a lot of the corporations that we coach and teach. So, and then, you know, you want to use the word I very sparingly. And when you want to use the word they or you as much as we can, use the word you as much as you can. We want to be specific with our praise. Like really be specific with what we're doing, what we're, saying. Because I got a card that said thank you on the front, and then I opened it and said thank you, comma, Cindy. And it was like, who the heck is Cindy? And the whole thing was just thank you. So it's like, that's the only handwritten note card I think I've ever thrown away, because it just didn't mean anything. Mm-hmm, so right. Be specific with your praise. And then another thing about handwritten notes is you can actually make them a self-improvement device by using something called positive projection. Positive projection is notice in others what you yourself want to improve in. So for me, like health has been a big key recently. So I've been writing handwritten notes to the most healthiest people that I know, and just acknowledging them on health. I will tell you, in the beginnings of my career, I was not very organized. So I wrote handwritten notes to people who were really organized, and appreciating and acknowledging their organization. Well, I have become borderline OCD. Like there's a place for everything in my house. There's a place for everything in my office. And I'm very, very, very organized. People would say I'm very organized. I became that way by noticing and acknowledging in others. So that's another thing. And then you want to use the color blue. You want to use blue ink when you write your notes, right? Why? Because it's the most favorite color in the world. Like when you ask people what their favorite color is, they say blue. Mm-hmm. And also is because it's real. It's authentic, and it means original, right? We sign our docs in closing a lot of times in blue ink. Right. And then we want to make sure that we write rightly. And write rightly means when you write your note, you want to slope upwards and to the right. And that is from Vamela Rogers' research on the most successful people in the world, is when it slopes upward and to the right, it says optimistic, it says successful, it says that kind of thing.
True art form.
Right.
It really is.
Yeah.
Right.
And then, the plus of the PS, right? Put a call to action in your PS. And to take that to the next level is to put your PS on a Post-it note that is yellow, right? They open up the note, or they open up the card, and right there they see the Post-it note, and they're going to have to move it to read what you wrote. And it's the art and science of a handwritten note. And I will tell you that we want people to respond to notes. Here's the worst thing. You write a note and you never know if they got it. Mm-hmm. You felt better because you sent it, but wouldn't it be great if you could be around when they got it?
Right.
Well, how do you be around when they got it? You have a call to action in there that says, text me when you get this, or call me when you get this.
Love that.
Great
Love
lessons.
That.
Thanks for walking through that, because so many people, no matter the arena, even if it's a personal thing that has nothing to do with business, I think there's so many good lessons.
You don't have to be in real estate. You don't have to be in lending or insurance to, take those and run with it. I mean, I'm sitting here going, oh my gosh,
right.
We need to do a better job of that. Yeah. Right. So, and again, Michael, it's about being intentional, right? And showing your appreciation. Because I know a lot of times in life, even like with myself, is I'm truly appreciative to someone. But if I don't verbally or do a handwritten note and tell them, hey, I think you're awesome, well, they don't really know that, right? So by showing that, I remember one thing, and you might want to touch base on this, but I remember one of your speaking engagements, you were talking about the power of tracking the referral. So like if Sally sends you a referral, that originated from Bob, who you helped like 3 years ago. And I think you have a system or something that you've practiced over the years of tracking those referrals and thanking people and saying, hey, I just closed Pam because you referred me blah, 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 and tracing all the way back.
Yeah, great retrace, right? You said tracing all the way back. That's the strategy is called the Great Retrace, right? And retracing your history. And how that came about was by tracking referrals. People all the time, it's like, oh, I don't think you got 500 referrals or 6. No, they're documented referrals. I can show you the Excel spreadsheet, and I can show the history of it, right? And it's one of those where the thing is what I discovered was that I needed a reason to call people. So I thought one of the best reasons would be to trace this referral back. So who's the referral? And I also getting referrals on top of referrals very quickly. So maybe something that was obvious to me wouldn't necessarily be as obvious to somebody who wasn't tracking and wasn't getting as many referrals as fast as I was. So that was the advantage I had. So let's say, I'll give a quick example is let's say Stephanie was referred by Christy, right? So I want Christy to be informed and educated during Stephanie's referral. That just makes sense, right? When I get a referral for Stephanie, shouldn't I report back to Christy occasionally? And that came about from doing research where we called people and found out that there were times when the referral source didn't even know the referral had looked for a home, found a home, closed, and were actually living in their home until they found out from the referral. The referral source had never been communicated with. So I was like, all right, we can be better by simply communicating. And that turned into the Great Retrace, which is a series of we call the referral source when we have the appointment, when we get the business, when we go under contract, when we close, and we inform the referral source at all those different points in the progress, right? But then it was like, all right, why am I just telling them? Why don't I think about Christy and think about who referred, introduced, or connected me to Christy? And then it's like, all right, let's say Joyce connected me to Christy. Then I also call Joyce when we get the appointment or referral, when we start working with them, when we get it under contract, and when we close. So we also tell Joyce, and it's like, hey, Stephanie's house is on the market, and Joyce is like, who the heck is Stephanie? Well, I'm so glad you asked because you played an important part of this. What did I do? Well, I'm glad you asked that because do you remember introducing me to Christy at that networking event? Kind of. Yeah. Okay. Well, you did. Thank you. And here's the other thing is Christy referred me Stephanie. So the first reason for my call is I just want to say thank you so much because you know what? If you had never introduced me to Christy, I would have never had the opportunity to help Stephanie and her family. So thank you. Right. And they were like, wow, like, how do you remember that? Like, I didn't remember it. I have an Excel spreadsheet. and then it's like, I think about Joyce. Who connected, introduced, or referred me to Joyce? And it's like, all right, so it's Denise, right? And then I call Denise and I go, Stephanie's house is on the market. And what's great is when they know their lines in the play, right? The problem with a lot of scripts is they say something that you forgot to cover. But I always say, Stephanie's house is on the market. And then you're like, who's Stephanie? I'm glad you asked because you played an important part of this. How? Well, I'm glad you asked that because do you remember referring me to Joyce? Yes. Okay. Well, Joyce connected me to Christy. Christy referred me Stephanie. And without you doing that, I would have never had the opportunity to help Stephanie and her family. So thank you. And Denise goes, wow. And then, we coach a lot of people on the Great Retrace strategy. We had a gal out of Knoxville, Tennessee, who literally had a Great Retrace that was 22 people deep.
Wow. Damn.
So she was calling the 22nd person and literally could you imagine at the end of the 21 person chain? And so I just wanted to thank you because without you, I would have never had this piece of business. And that person's jaw drops and like goes, wow. Imagine if your phone calls were such that, people were saying, wow, when you made the call.
Well, and it's actually, I haven't thought about this story in a long time, Michael, but like early on in my lending career, very new, just, getting into it. But I remember a moving company that I had knew around Christmas time, they brought me a $50 gift card to Hereford House, which 20 years ago, $50 is a lot of money, right? Especially when you're young and don't have any money, right? But I remembered like it was a handwritten note, gift card, and I had completely forgot about referring these people out. And they said, hey, thank you so much for the referral. Enjoy your holidays. We really appreciate your business. And that blew me away so much that over the years, I have referred them so much business.
Isn't their business card on your bulletin board in your office?
It's literally on my bulletin board. They've moved our offices. They have moved me personally 3 times. I mean, just by that little piece of gratitude, and it was so powerful. And just imagine to anyone that's listening to this, if everyone had that impact on every single person that you came across, man, it is something special.
It's special.
It's epic.
Michael, go ahead.
I was just going to say it's easier to get a lot of referrals than people think. To be awesome, right? To be cool, it doesn't take moving mountains. It really doesn't. You don't need to perform miracles. All you got to do is that little extra, the 7th gear instead. You don't need to go to 19th gear, right? You don't need to buy everybody a TV, right? It's one of those where it's like, what is the little extra in a lot of cases is an extra phone call, a post on Facebook. It's inviting them to an event, even if they don't attend the event. It is the handwritten note. It is the small gift card. So I think that the big thing is, this is always be cool. I think it's easier to be cool than ever before. It's because most people aren't cool. Right. They're not doing anything above the minimum. Average is the enemy.
100%.
That's the truth.
So here's the perfect transition. I'm glad we're here. So you say this, we say this, and there's another great book out there that and I think a lot of people have read called Good to Great. And I think I'm going to tie it all in here. But you say that building a business or a brand really stems from three things. It's generosity, it's love, and it's appreciation, right?
Yes, sir.
And in Jim Collins' book, Good to Great, there's something that we've been talking a lot about lately with our team. It's the hedgehog concept of that intersection where your passion and your expertise and your service or your economic engine all collides, right? And you've got this beautiful zone right in the middle, and that's where happiness and that's where success really, really lies. So, maybe just continue the conversation a little bit about the combination of generosity, love, and appreciation, and how that can propel people into the seventh gear.
Well, absolutely. Because here's the thing is, if you want to do something well, do what you love and love what you do, right? I mean, if you love it, you'll do it better. I love football. I love being the quarterback at Gardner Edgerton High School. So guess what? It was worth going to the seventh gear on. So the first thing is do what you love and love what you do. And most lead generation methods are not built that way. They're actually, I hate doing it. But you got to do it. And the opposite of that is building it the gen well with generosity generation instead of lead generation. And that is love, generosity, and appreciation are our three values. And we have three principles that are, give first, give massive value first, give thanks because things are going to happen to you and you need to love the good ones and love the bad ones, right? Appreciate both of them. And then we have give back, which is give to someone who will never be able to repay you, right? So give first, give thanks, give back. And within that environment, love, generosity, and appreciation is powerful because, love is the most powerful engine for anything in the world. Like love is powerful. But if you don't act on it, I see it as like Superman or Wonder Woman kicking back on their couch with eating bonbons, watching some binge watching Netflix or Amazon show, right? And if you saw Superman just sitting there on a couch eating bonbons, you'd be really disappointed. You'd be like, you know what? There's a lot of potential there that's not being used. Well, what's the potential? Love is the superpower. Generosity is love in action. Generosity is you using your superpower of love often and every day. Just give, be generous. And it doesn't have to be money, right? Everybody seems to link generosity with money, but it's not. That's only one of the 7 gifts of generosity that we're all bequeathed, right? It's one of those, you can give by just listening. You can give by having them as a guest on your podcast, right? You can give in many different ways. So, and then appreciation is love in reaction. So we appreciate everything that happens to us in the past and everything that's happening to us now. And generosity is the engine that forward, we go in generosity, and it's always a forward thinking thing, but we appreciate everything that happens to us, and we're always in appreciation. So we're always in generosity, always in appreciation, and the engine is love. And that's the superpower that generates both those. And I don't want people to listen to this and think, oh, well, this is like fluff. This is, BS, and BS stands for bad stuff, right? This isn't fluff and bad stuff. It's strategic, tactical, and practical. We have hundreds of strategies under love, generosity, and appreciation that you can put into your business that will make your business more attractive. And those are our core values. And we do a lot with events, right? And a series of events. And it's one of those where I don't tell them what event to do. I just say, hey, listen, do an event that would be fun for you and for your sphere, your database, the people that you know. Invite them to the event. It doesn't have to do anything with real estate. If you're a moving company, it doesn't have to do anything with moving. Is your moving truck going to be out front? Sure. But, and by the way, if you're a moving company, you should do fill the truck events at least 3 times a year, which is they fill the truck with canned goods, fill the truck with blankets, fill the truck with whatever. And then you have a party around filling the truck, right? That would be my suggestion, my coaching, if you will. But I'm just telling you that, I mean, love, generosity, and appreciation are the core values. And I think the beauty of it is that you don't have to hate going to work. You can love going to work because you're doing things that you love, and you're helping people with generosity, and you're always in appreciation no matter what.
You know, that's some awesome points, Michael, some great golden nuggets that you're dropping. So how can people, because this is going to be a new concept for a lot of people, whether they're in whatever types of sales, but that different concept of being generous, showing that gratitude that we talk a lot about, but how can people get more of this? And yes, we want to lift you up because you've been so generous with your time, but can you tell the people, like, how can they get more information, like with the generosity generation, no matter what type of profession, and how can they make this more of a habit to continue to go down that path to show that, that they can get more referrals by showing that generosity?
Well, I appreciate that. I welcome them with open arms, right? And There's really 3 great places to go next. 2 of them are free, and one of them will cost you around $20, right? So joingengen.com, JOINGENGEN.com. So that's how you join the generosity generation. It's for everyone. Right? Everyone can join. We have stay-at-home moms, stay-at-home dads. We have teachers. We have firemen. We have policemen. We have realtors. We have CEOs of Fortune 500 companies in the generosity generation. So joingengen.com. It's free. It's a Facebook group. And then referralspodcast.com. You obviously like listening to podcasts. You're here today. Our podcast is one of the top 100 in the world in marketing. Over
250 episodes strong, by the way, which is something that's epic. We need to touch on a little bit. Right. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. Over 20,000 downloads a month at this point, and it's all on referrals. It's about being referable. And then the last one is I would encourage people to maybe grab a copy of 7L, and you can get it at the book on referrals.com, which will lead you to Amazon, which is really probably one of the best places to buy it. And those are great places to start.
Absolutely. And by the way, there's like almost 2,000 5-star reviews of that book on Amazon. So for those of you that are listening that are not completely familiar with Michael and his lessons, this is no joke. This is not fluff and bad stuff BS. Right. This is real stuff. This is the stuff that moves the needle.
What is it? Is it 11 years now running, Michael? What's the streak?
Well, we were 10 years number one and 12 years bestseller. And then the Miracle Morning for Real Estate Agents was number one a couple of years, and then has been a bestseller for 8 years now.
So before we wrap up today, and again, great segue. It's almost like we planned this stuff. When you talk about the Morning Miracle for real estate agents, right? We talk a lot about this with our teams. We talk a lot about this with our referral partners. Let's spend a couple minutes before we go on the power of morning and night routines, because it is something that cannot be overlooked. And for anyone that thinks that they can just wing their day, you are sorely mistaken in thinking that you're reaching your 7th gear, because you cannot accomplish these things without routines.
Wow, 2 minutes, right? So I'm gonna do this as quickly.
You don't have to stop in 2 minutes. There's no hard stop.
Yeah. So here's the thing, right? So I have 4 rituals I believe everybody should have, and they're already doing them, but can we everybody already has a morning ritual. They wake up, check their phone, go to the bathroom, and go from there, right? Maybe that's whatever it is. But it's like, how do we improve that one little bit? Well, Hal Elrod and I wrote in the Miracle Morning for Real Estate Agents that you could practice silence or prayer or that kind of thing, meditation in the morning. You could do affirmations. You could do appreciations. Appreciations are, I appreciate blank because of blank. That's it. You write that down and you do 5 a day. Your life will change. And then V is visualization. You can visualize your day and what's coming up. And then E is for exercise. R is for reading. Read a little bit in the morning. The last S is for scribing or scribbling, which is journaling. So journaling, I'm a huge believer in. I will tell you that implementing any of those are the strategies of the millionaires and billionaires. Implementing just one strategy can propel you to the next gear.
So for those of you that are listening, there was an acronym in there. It's SAVERS with 2 A's.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then, so let's continue with the acronym phrase, right? So the first is the morning ritual. I also believe you need to do a pre-leave ritual. Even if you work at home, like there's a stopping point, 5 or 6 or whenever you do it, 3 for some, right? And it's like at your stopping point, you should have a ritual that is like ending it mentally so that you can be with your family. You can be with your significant other. You can go work out without thinking about work, right? And the ritual ends your work day, and it's go home. Get reminded to end your dang day, either by a person or your phone or your schedule. And then O is order your environment. Clean up your freaking office, right? Just put things back where they were. And then H is do a high five. What are the 5 things I need to do tomorrow? There's other things you can do in the high five, but don't worry about like your high five. And then you do O, which is organize your desk, which does not mean a cleaned off desk. It just means organize your desk. Like mine right now has 3 stacks to the right that I've got to work on for the rest of the day. And then the M is money making. Most of us are in businesses that need to make money, right? So what are the things that are going to make you money the next day? Write those things down and just boom, you've got those ready for the next day. E is exit. If you work from home, close the dang door to your office and go be present for your kids, your spouse, your friends, other people. And that's go home. And that's the pre-leave ritual. The last 2 rituals, I believe everyone should implement. They're already doing them, but they could maybe be doing them a little bit better. And that is sweet dreams. Sunday night ritual is sweet. Nightly ritual is dreams. The sweet for the Sunday night ritual, Sunday, 6 o'clock, you look at your schedule for the week. You look at the weather for the week. You look at your eating plan for the week. Yes, we meal plan everything. Look at your exercise plan for the week. Yes, I write down every single weight that I'm going to do at the weight room. Does it always stay that way? No, sometimes I've got to change it, usually to go lighter. Yeah. And then T is tie it all together, which means go to the store and get the ingredients for the meal plan. It means line up your outfits for your workouts. Line up your outfits for work. I knew I was wearing this shirt today because of this interview, right? I didn't even think about it this morning when I put it on. I knew I was going to be ready. And then the nightly ritual, and this is like a game changer. What we've discovered is your morning is how do you win the day? You win the morning. How do you win the morning? You got to win your sleep. You got to win the night before to really win the next day. And the dreams is when is your dim time? And the dim time for our family is 9:30. But for you, it could be 7:30. For somebody, it could be a midnight. Right. Could be your dim. You know what? At midnight, I'm done. R is for read, right? So read something. And I encourage it to be some type of a real book, not on your phone. E is for evaluate. Like evaluate your day. Just take a helicopter ride over your day. What should you celebrate? What went great? What went wrong? And then the A is affirm and appreciate. We need to affirm and appreciate our day. Read your affirmations. I will tell you doing affirmations before you sleep is very powerful. The M is for meditation, right? Start your breathing. The lights are out. The room is cold and you are there. And if you'll just breathe, you will fall asleep faster and better. And the S is for sleep. Go to sleep. Maximize your sleep, whatever that looks like for you. So it's sweet dreams for the 2 nightly rituals, the Sunday night ritual, and then the nightly ritual, which is every night. And then you've got the morning ritual, which is savers. And then you've got that pre-leave ritual, which really sets yourself up for success for the next day, which is go home.
Powerful stuff, man.
That's some super awesome nuggets, Michael.
Heck yeah. That's no joke. And hopefully, just one person takes away some things there. And that's the thing is it's not about implementing everything.
Right.
It's implementing something in order to move the needle and be 1% better tomorrow than I was today.
Just getting your routines down, getting better every single day. And as one of my coaches told me years and years ago, just have a freaking plan, right?
Yep.
You can't just out there be floating around and just react to everything. You have to plan for success.
Absolutely.
So that's
Michael
amazing, dude.
Maher.
Dude.
What a phenomenal interview. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that you want to bestow upon the listeners before we wrap it up here today?
I would just say that, like you guys were saying with the 1 degree or the 1%, it's a 1 degree tweak. And, there's a downward spiral. We saw like Britney Spears and Charlie Sheen go on this really public downward spiral a few years ago. And if there's a downward spiral, there must be an upward spiral of life. Mm-hmm. And there is. And I believe that the upward spiral of life, look at it like a spiral staircase. Yes, stairway to heaven. I dropped that in there.
There you go.
And we just need to realize that the first step on the upward spiral of life is learn. Hopefully they learn something from this podcast. Every time you have it, I learn something, right? And it's L is the first step, and it's learn. But there's a second step, and the second step has the letter I on it, and I is for implement. We need to take action on what we just learned. And then the F is the third step, of course, because we're spelling life. And the F might surprise some people, but the F is for fail. Whatever we implement, we are going to fail at some level. We're not going to do it perfect. Mm-hmm. We're going to mess it up, and it's okay. It's progress. And then the E is for evaluate. We need to look at what we just learned, implement, and failed at and just go, okay, does it align with my values? Did it feel good? Do I love it? Or could I love it? Do I think it's going to help me achieve my dreams and get my goals? And then we need to look at the next step, which is L again, and it's learn. And please note, you are no longer learning at the same level. You're learning at a higher level, implementing at a higher level, failing at a higher level. And then you can evaluate at a higher level. And you continue up those steps and up that spiral staircase. And what I hope is somebody learned at least one little thing from this or from me today. And the best gift to me would be for them to implement.
Absolutely.
And hopefully it's a gift for me that actually gives them as well.
Well, I think people will take lots of things away today and more than one person for sure.
There's so many good nuggets that were dropped on this show. Like I'm literally going to go back and keep listening to this over and over, right?
Yep.
Because, it's always about tweaking your good habits. And I love that, the
evaluation,
the evaluation and just a visualization of that staircase going up and failing on a higher level, man. So thank you so much for dropping all that knowledge. And then, Bobby, did you want to share on how people can find him? And
Absolutely. Yep. On Facebook, everyone can check out Join Gen. You can go to referralspodcast.com or wherever you listen to podcasts on Spotify, Apple, Google, etc. Again, 250 episodes strong. Over, what did you say, Michael? 20,000 listeners a week?
20,000 downloads a year. Or, I'm sorry, a month.
A month. That's just incredible.
So we get between 15 and 20,000 downloads a month.
Just
that's 4 episodes.
So referralspodcast.com. On Instagram, you can find Michael at michael.j.maher. That's Maher. And, of course, the 7 Levels of Communication book where you can find anywhere. As he said, Amazon might be the easiest place to get it. Michael Maher, everybody.
Good job,
Phenomenal
buddy.
guy, good friend of ours. Thank you so much, sir. We really appreciate you. We love you. Guys, this has been the Always Be Cool podcast. Make sure to check us out on Instagram at Always Be Cool Pod, as well as Spotify, Google, and Apple podcasts.
Thanks again, Michael. Take care, everybody.
Yep.
If you are hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode. And for that, Darren and Bobby thank you from the bottom of their hearts.
They hope you enjoyed this new episode. And if you did, please leave them a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you're listening. Please share this episode with others who may be interested in our community.
Also, feel free to let DC and BK know which business or community leaders you'd like to see covered in future episodes. Get in touch in the comments or on social media. See you next time for a new episode. And remember, always be cool.
This podcast is powered by Summit Lending, NMLS number 1850081, Equal Housing Lender.